This is CaneSport Inside the Lines on the Ourlads Football Network. Bowl season for the Miami Hurricanes. As Gary, I got to tell you, the Miami Hurricanes can't wish this bowl season to start any faster after the way the season ended, and also maybe some retribution ahead after what happened when they were shut out last season in the bowl. So this is going to be a big bowl game for the Miami Hurricanes.
Oh, no doubt about it, Greg. When you look at the way that they finished the regular season with that just absolutely disgusting loss to North Carolina, I think that what you're seeing is a football team that didn't want to go out that way. They took such a big step this season. People aren't looking at it that way because of the way the Carolina game looked. But this was a different football program in 2020, and they didn't look like a different football program against North Carolina. For a lot of different reasons. You never want to make excuses, and there aren't any excuses for playing that way. But the program had gone through quite a bit of turmoil in the previous month with coaches in and out, players in and out. And it may have just caught up to them a little bit that day. I don't think they beat a Carolina team that was playing at the level that they were playing at on any day. I think they would have lost that game regardless. But I do think that everything that they went through the previous month contributed to the way that they looked against North Carolina. I think they do not want that to be the lasting memory of their season. And I think that is why Miami will show up in Orlando on Tuesday night, and hopefully they will be a little bit more invested in the game than we saw Miami invested in the bowl game a year ago that you very astutely referred
Yes, and
to.
we tried to forget after we talked about it early on in the season. And keep in mind, too, Miami is in a bowl drought. They are 1-9 straight up in their last 10 bowl games, while Oklahoma State has won 3 out of their last 4 bowls, and they've covered 4 straight bowls. As I welcome in our special guest, he's the gentleman on the left of the screen, Scott Wright from the Oklahomian.com. He covers, of course, Oklahoma State football, and he's been with us before here on the Ourlads Football Network. Good to have you back again, Scott.
Absolutely. Good to be here.
Thanks for your patience, too. We had some technical difficulties before the show, and you were very patient. Thank you for that.
No problem at all.
Scott. So tell me, what's the mood for Oklahoma State after a huge, convincing end of the regular season win over Baylor, which was really big for them because they had stumbled a bit after starting the season 4-0, and they really needed that one.
Yeah, they did. That was a good, strong way to finish up. Gave them some confidence after a TCU game the week before, where they really had every opportunity to win that game and just let it slip through their fingers. The defense gets 5 takeaways against TCU, and other than a scoop and score, the offense does nothing with the other 4 turnovers that they were handed. So that was a really frustrating loss. So to get that taste out of their mouth against Baylor and really bounce back strong was important. Now they go into a bowl game where the defense is playing confidently. The offense has a little bit more rhythm, and they know they've got a tough matchup on their hands, and from their perspective, they're hoping that they're ready for it.
All right. Well, Gary and I will rotate some questions here for you, Scott. I'll start off. You talked about offense, defense. That's kind of what I want to get this thing kicked off as far as questions with you, because there's a lot of, when I take a look at it, Jim Knowles, this is his 3rd season as the defensive coordinator. His first year, they were ranked 112th in defense, then 82nd, all the way up to 39th this year. So this is definitely the strength of the team this season, and this is the bright spot of the season, isn't it?
Yeah, it has been, and that's been a little bit of the frustration, which I'm sure you're going to get to with the offensive side of the ball. But the offense has really underperformed, but at the same time, the defense has excelled. And outside of the Oklahoma game, where the defense really had some struggles, the defense has been the bright spot for this team this year. And you even look at the Texas loss. The defense did not give up a bunch of long drives. They were put with their backs against the wall several times, and Texas was able to create enough points off of it to get that game to overtime. So and then obviously win it in overtime. So the defense has been really strong all year, and that's going to be, I think, the most fun part of this match. When you look at what Miami does well on offense, I think that's going to be a really fun matchup on Tuesday night.
Yeah, let's talk about specific players then. 26th ranked linebacker, I believe outside linebacker for Oklahoma State. I'll let you tell us how do you pronounce his last name, but Amen is his first name. He's a senior with 177 tackles over his last 2 years, 7.5 sacks, 20.5 tackles for loss, and 4 forced fumbles. Meanwhile, Calvin Bundage leads the team with 6.5 sacks. Malcolm Rodriguez is the senior DB. He's had 259 combined tackles over the last 3 seasons. So those are 3 interesting guys. And also Harvey Peel, who's the number 6th ranked safety for Ourlads heading into the NFL draft. He had an ACL injury last year, rehabbed it coming into this season. And finally, Rodarius Williams, the 34th ranked cornerback for Ourlads coming into the draft, his brother Greedy Williams. Tell me about some of these players, and specifically, who are the real guys that we need to keep an eye on besides them, unless those are the top guys.
Well, yeah, you guys, but I'll touch on some of those. Rodarius Williams has actually opted out and won't be playing in the game. He's going to get ready for the NFL draft, try to follow his brother's footsteps there into pro ball. So that's a big loss for Oklahoma State, because he had really been a shutdown corner for them this year. A lot of teams were avoiding him, not throwing at him. And he was really taking away a good chunk of the field in the passing game. So he's going to be really missed. Eamon Ogbongbemiga, the linebacker. I can't believe you didn't want to say that name.
I still don't want to know it. That's okay. You got it. Does he have a nickname?
He doesn't, unfortunately. He needs one badly. But Eamon, as most people know him, is a really reliable guy in the middle of the field that is a really solid tackler. And same with Malcolm Rodriguez. You mentioned his tackle stats. He's a guy that when he gets his hands on you're going down most of the time. So those 2 guys are going to be really key in their tackling ability. Calvin Bundage will have an even more important role, I think, in this game. You mentioned his sack stats. He's going to be, I think, even more important in this game, because he comes in as really a specialty kind of guy in the pass rush. Okay. But the most reliable pass rusher that they have is Trace Ford. He suffered a knee injury against Baylor in the last game and won't be available. Okay. He recently had surgery, and so Calvin Bundage is going to be on the field a little bit more in that role, particularly in passing downs, and will be really important. Then you mentioned Colby Harvey Peel, also Trey Sterling at the 2 safety spots. Actually, they have 3 safeties, but those 2 guys at safety are both really important. Colby Harvey Peel has a couple of interceptions this year. Trey Sterling is a guy that makes plays all over the field. He will come up and help in run support. He'll come up and blitz on occasion, and then he's a really solid cover guy as well. So all guys that are really important to this defense.
Before I switch it over to Gary, just wanted to verify again. Harvey Peel, he's the 6th ranked safety for Ourlads. Is he the top defender talent-wise on the team?
It's close. He's right up there. With Rodarius Williams being out, I would probably say that he is maybe their most important guy on the back end for sure. The linebackers are really important as well.
And Amen is an inside linebacker, not outside, as I said before. Bundage is more of an outside edge rusher, as you mentioned. Okay, Gary.
Yes. Scott, when I take a look at this game, I think it's going to be, without question, one of the better bowl games of bowl season. I really do. When I look at OK State, I see one thing that I just can't put my fingers around, and that's the inconsistency. I mean, we talk about defense is the strength of the team, and then I look at a 41-point output by Oklahoma against the Cowboys. I look at Texas Tech scoring 44 against them. So I need you to explain to me that, why is this team as inconsistent as maybe it's been this year?
On the defensive side of the ball, they had been really good about not giving up big plays. They're fantastic at getting off the field on third down. They're still good on third down. They're second nationally in third down percentage defense. So that's going to be really key for them. But not getting hit with the big plays will be the key for them against Miami, because that's the issue that's cropped up for them over the last month and a half. They like you said, they were really good against Baylor, but that was a different type of ball game. So that's going to be the issue that they've got to address for Tuesday.
Yeah, and the Miami offense, as I'm sure you know, is all about big plays, and it has been that way the entire season. And the offensive coordinator, Rhett Lashley, who came over from SMU, has done a phenomenal job setting up those big plays. And he'll try to lull you to sleep, a couple runs up the middle, then boom, now all of a sudden he's isolating a receiver one-on-one in the middle of the field, and Miami's been able to win a lot of those matchups during the course of the season, even though play after play after play, maybe its offense wasn't performing as efficiently as they might like. So I agree with you. I think that is going to be a massive, massive aspect of this game. Now, another one that I personally believe is going to be significant is going to be Oklahoma State's offense, even though you're telling us that's not the strength of their team, against Miami's defense, which is going to be significantly weakened by the absence of defensive ends Jalen Phillips and Quincy Roche. And to me, those two guys took what maybe would have been a pretty darn average defense this year and turned it into a pretty good defense with the quality of their play game after game after game. So Oklahoma State's offense at times has been able to put points up in bunches. They average almost 30 points a game and 427 yards. So they've been a decent offensive team at times. Where do you think Oklahoma State can most test Miami defensively in this game?
I think those absences on the defensive line that you mentioned, I think those are going to open up. Oklahoma State at least hopes that they open up the run game a little bit, because so much of what Oklahoma State does on offense keys off of running the ball well. Obviously, they're going to be without Chuba Hubbard, who's moved on to the NFL draft, but he had been injured a good portion of this season and really was only himself for about 5 games anyway. Really an ineffective season for him, and a frustrating one at that. So they've been playing with other running backs the last month and a half anyway. So that's not really an issue. The question is whether they can block, because they've had a lot of injuries. And then you mentioned Tevin Jenkins opting out. But the offensive line's got to come together and be solid, open up the run game, and obviously with the guys out for Miami that you mentioned. Protecting the passer will be a little bit easier than it would have been for Oklahoma State, and that was another issue that they've had at times with their offensive line. Mike Gundy refers to it as musical chairs, because they have one guy go down, and it seems like 2 guys have to move around to fill a spot, and so it's been a tough season for the offensive line, but. Look at what they're able to do offensively once they get the run. If they can get the run game going, that usually helps open things up for Tylen Wallace on the outside at receiver, who is really their most impactful player on the offensive side of the ball, and then the other receivers follow after that. So. But Spencer Sanders is the key to all of this. They've got to have him playing consistently. He's had issues with turnovers at times. During the year, you go back and look at the Texas game. That was one where he fumbled twice and threw an interception, all 3 that set up Texas scores. So that's a real key for them, is to have him playing consistently. He doesn't have to go out and be a world beater. He doesn't have to go out and throw for 400 yards. He just needs to be consistent, take care of the ball, and get the ball to his playmakers when they've got opportunities.
All right, Scott, let's stay on offense, because Casey Dunn took over as the coordinator, which I was actually pretty pleased about since I'm a Rutgers guy. Sean Gleason has done a fantastic job already for Rutgers, but there's a difference. I mean, you 3 straight top 20s on offense, and then you take a look at them drop a little bit in 2019, the 35th, but 58th this year. So that's even like you've talked about Chuba Hubbard. He's had some injuries, and Sanders has been inconsistent. But Dunn is a first-year coordinator. I know he's been with the team a while as a wide receiver coach. How do the fans? What is their reaction to the injuries? Are they looking at it as, well, those are pretty good excuses, or are they a little bit concerned with Dunn as the coordinator?
The fans are kind of split on Casey Dunn. I think he's done a really good job with the hand he's been dealt, with everything that they've had to deal with. The offensive line again has really limited what he's been able to do because of what they can protect and what they can block. So that's going to be a real important key. They've had the same starting lineup for the final 3 games of the season. So they need to try to keep with that consistency and try to move forward, because they've been blocking pretty well. They've had a 100-yard rusher each of the last 3 games, and Spencer Sanders threw for over 300 in the Baylor game to get the offense going as well. So if that offensive line can maintain some consistency, it really helps out Casey Dunn and what he can call.
Is Sanders the clear number 1 going into camp next year, or are there any other young quarterbacks that will be nipping at his heels? Is there a potential transfer? What's the situation there with Sanders in the quarterback position?
I don't expect to see any transfers in, but I do think that he's going to have a quarterback competition on his hands. Shane Illingworth, a true freshman who came in and played when Sanders was hurt this year, and was reliable at times, a little bit inconsistent in the Oklahoma game when he had to come in, but against Oklahoma's pass rush, that was a tough day. So it's been an interesting season, but I think that there will be probably a quarterback competition going into the off season and into spring ball.
Scott, I had the pleasure of making it to Oklahoma once, and I can't tell you how much I was looking forward to it, to be honest with you, because you grow up and you're watching Oklahoma football, and you see what a great venue what a great venue they have over there in Norman, and so Miami played Oklahoma a few years back, and I had the chance to go, but I also had the opportunity, and I was struck by how close the 2 campuses are relatively together. I think it was about an hour and a half drive that I made to go from Oklahoma to Oklahoma State, and I did a day-night doubleheader. And I went, and I actually Oklahoma State that night was playing Florida Atlantic, and Florida Atlantic at that time was coached by a very dear friend of mine, Howard Schnellenberger, who, as you know, led Miami to the national title in 1983-84. So I did that day-night doubleheader, and I got to see the differences between the 2 programs, and they're very, very different. Oklahoma is the football powerhouse, the team that everybody expects to play for the national title every year without question. And I felt that Oklahoma State was a little bit different. Oklahoma State was more your traditional college football team that comes into every season hoping to be a decent team. You got Boone Pickens over there throwing his fortune behind the program, but they're not really able to keep up with Oklahoma year after year after year. So since we have you on the show, and I haven't been able to really reconcile this all these years, is why is that, and where is Oklahoma State's place in the state of Oklahoma and on the national stage in college football? What is the program hoping to accomplish? And it seems to me like they're okay playing second fiddle to Oklahoma. Am I reading that right or wrong?
I would say that most fans they want to be where Oklahoma is. They want to be that type of program. and there are a lot of frustrations because Mike Gundy is 2-14 against Oklahoma in his 16 seasons. Even though he's had the winningest Oklahoma State program in history, he won more games than any coach here. He's done it more consistently than any coach ever before him. Even though he's done all of that, the fact that he is 2-14 against Oklahoma really eats at a lot of fans.
But the fact that he's still there supports my question.
Exactly, you're absolutely right. Now, one of the frustrating things for some people, even in leadership at Oklahoma State, is that his contract buyout is incredibly large, and that's a little bit of an issue. So, but you're right. It's very odd to see a coach go 2-14 against his rival, and still have success and in all the other ways that they have. So it's a really tough situation that Oklahoma State is in right now in terms of where they're going in the future with this program, and whether they're going to be stuck where they are, or if there's something they can do to change it and become a more consistent competitor at the top of the Big 12.
What took place in the preseason with Chuba Hubbard and with Gundy, did that have any impact at all as far as the team was concerned this season? And do you think that is going to have any lasting impacts as far as Gundy's concerned?
I don't think so. I think that he did the things that he needed to do in the off season before the season got started, to kind of heal some wounds there within the program, and he understood that there were things that he had been doing that were frustrating to the players, and so he's changed his ways a little bit, and that incident did raise some issues within the program, within the athletic department, but they still he still did what he needed to do to calm the waters, so to speak.
Before I let you go, Tylen Wallace, you mentioned him before. He is the 10th ranked wide receiver at Ourlads as far as the draft is concerned. 5th all-time program history receiving yards, over 3,300. Compared to a lot of other Oklahoma State receivers, there's been some really good ones that have come out over the last 10, 15 years. How does he rank? Not statistically, but in your minds.
I tell you what, this guy does that stands out above a lot of guys that I've seen at Oklahoma State is that he makes contested catches. He makes catches with guys all over him. He makes catches that you just don't expect people to be able to make, and he plays a lot bigger than he is. He's only 6 foot 6'1", 195 pounds, but he's very physical. And a very, very good leaper. He's very good at catching the ball at its highest point. He does some of those things really well. He's not going to go lay down a 4.3 40 and just blaze past people. He's got good speed, but not great speed. And he's just a guy who runs routes well and gets to the right spots and makes catches, whether it's in traffic or wide open. And is just he's got really reliable hands, and that's the thing that stands out to me about his game.
And Dylan Stoner, can he somehow find his way on a team in the NFL? I mean, there are guys like Scotty Miller from Bowling Green, and we see what's going on with the likes of Edelman with the Patriots. Can Stoner be one of those guys that could, with good hands, good route running, that kind of thing, possession receiver? Do you think he could make it in the NFL?
I think he's got a shot. I think that he's the type of guy that's willing to do anything on go play special teams and do those things to be a glue guy and really help out and give himself the best possible shot to make an NFL roster. Scotty Miller is a good comparison, I think, for him, because that's the type of receiver that he is and can be, I think, at the next level if he gets in the right opportunity.
Scott, appreciate it. Thank you very much, not only for taking your time to do the show, but the extra work before the show, too. And we look forward to getting an opportunity to talk to you again before the draft, where we can pick your brain some more on some of these players. Again, thanks a lot. Enjoy the game, and we'll talk to you again sometime soon.
Absolutely. Sounds good, guys.
Thanks, Scott.
Okay, so again, want to thank Scott Wright from the Oklahomian for joining us, talking Oklahoma State football. And this is just going to be a very interesting bowl game, Gary, because of the fact, as we were talking with Scott, you have the opt-out of Chuba Hubbard, which you can completely understand. He's got the injury situation. Why? I mean, there's just no reason. He's right now the number 3 ranked running back at Ourlads, only behind Travis Etienne and Harris from Alabama. So that's pretty good company. Meanwhile, Miami, they've got some opt-outs, as you mentioned earlier on in the show, on the defensive side with Phillips and Roche. Who could blame these guys, just like Hubbard, for taking the time to take care of themselves?
Yeah, they're absolutely making the right decision, Greg. I don't think anybody can dispute that. You got 2 guys that have had good seasons. They've solidified their draft stock. Jalen Phillips is, now projecting in the middle part of the first round. Quincy Roche could go in the second. People see him as a potential outside linebacker in the NFL. So there's really, no reason for them to play in this game and take a chance on getting hurt and affecting their futures. I also want to say that I just hope and don't think it will that these opt-outs diminish this game on Tuesday night, which I think is going to be a very good one. And in the bigger picture, I think that the bowl system in general, despite player opt-outs at the end of the year for different reasons, still has a place. You get some compelling games like this one that you don't usually get to see. Miami might never, when was Miami going to play OK State again? Sure. I think the last time they played was 1971 or something like that. So we're going to get to see a compelling game, and it's going to give a couple younger players an opportunity to play and position themselves for next season. When you look at a Jafari Harvey, a Cam Williams, for example, at defensive end, maybe even a Chance Williams, who are going to get a chance to get into this game and show the coaches what they have going into next year. Maybe you play well in this game and the coaches stay away from the transfer portal at your position, and that can significantly affect your career. So I'm looking forward to it, Greg. I think it's going to be a good ball game Tuesday night, and I think it could go either way. I really do. I think Miami is going to be challenged on the defensive side, as we've talked about. I think OK State does have some decent balance offensively, even though they're missing a couple key guys. So I think it could go either way, and it's going to be a great game.
And just to update the rankings for our lads from some of these players you mentioned, right now Jordan is the 4th ranked tight end. Phillips is the 5th ranked defensive end. Roche is the 7th ranked outside linebacker. That's where our lads, that's how they view Roche right now. Borealis, the number 1 ranked kicker, heading right now, heading into the NFL draft. You mentioned King. He's 18th, and that's dropped as far as the quarterback position. So just backing what you were saying. Jared Williams is the 16th ranked offensive tackle. We haven't talked much about him this season.
He's okay, Greg. I think when they get into the nitty-gritty, maybe he can get drafted late. I think there's a chance he might come back as well.
Okay.
We'll see what happens there.
And Zach Mccloud, 24th at inside linebacker. Amari Carter, 27th. At safety. So, because look, if King does come back, there's no question he's going to need reinforcements. He's going to need some of these guys to come back. And another season with some of these young receivers that have blossomed, taken a big step forward this season, maybe take another step forward, especially if Jordan can come back, makes all the difference in the world. Because if King doesn't come back and has talent around him, and to tell you the truth, I wonder whether he does come back if he looks around and sees that he's kind of all by himself.
Well, we just had a little thing, Greg, called National Signing Day, and Miami got a few pretty good-looking fortifications there at the receiver position that I think will make them better You can never rely on a true freshman to carry your team, obviously, but in Brashard Smith in particular and Romello Brinson, I think they've got a couple guys, even Jacoby George, who can come in and play right away and make this offense even more consistent and better. So King will have weapons around them if he comes back. Miami will be fine regardless of what Brevin Jordan does at tight end. They will have Will Mallory back.
Yep.
They got a really good-looking freshman, Arroyo, coming in, and they had a freshman this year, Dom Mammarelli, who hasn't had a chance to play very much, but has done some good things on the practice field. So King will have weapons around him. The running backs will be back, if he chooses to come back. And right now, I would say that it would be his smartest decision. But we'll see what happens.
I agree. We mentioned that even though Miami has lost 9 out of their last 10 bowl games, they're 2-0 straight up and against the spread in their last 2 bowl games versus Big 12 teams by an average of 20 points.
There's a silver lining.
Yeah, even though, of course, it's been a while. Those are the glory days, I'm sure. Also, Miami 7-3 straight up and against the spread in their last 10 versus Big 12 teams, including 5-0 straight up and against the spread coming off an ATS loss. So there were some good things there. For Oklahoma State, they clobbered Baylor in their last game. So bowl favorites off a spread win of 30 or more are just 8-16-1 against the spread since 1999. And then we talked about also Oklahoma State 1-5 against the spread in their last 6 games. The only one they covered was the last one against Baylor. So they had that. At least Oklahoma State had an opportunity to get a big win, like a monkey off their back, because they hadn't been playing well for a while before this game. But as we said at the very open of the show, Miami, that's what they need to do. They need to not only get the monkey off the back of what happened in North Carolina, but after what happened to them in the bowl game last year.
Yeah, so look, we have 2 teams that have reasons to play, and Scott told us that OK State is a team with a lot of heart. They never give up, and yeah, they're going to be down a few guys. Miami's going to be down a few guys, but I think we have 2 teams that are going to show up in Orlando next week. Very invested in the result, and it's going to be fun to watch, and we'll see what happens.
Gary, appreciate it. We're going to wrap up the season, and by the way, I know we didn't spend much time talking about the blue chip quarterback recruit that Miami also has. So we'll talk more about that. Gary, appreciate it as always. Enjoy the bowl game, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, Greg, and thank you for being such a great host this whole season.
And I appreciate the opportunity to talk Miami Hurricanes football with you again, Gary. It's been a while, so we'll continue that in 2021, the next time we talk on the air.
All right, Greg. Thanks a lot.
Take care.
Have a great holiday.
You too. Merry Christmas.